As entrepreneurs, money is a very important part of what we do, and we're striving for that goal of being self-sufficient, want to be freedom-oriented so that we can live our lives the way we want. And that means we've got to understand the difference between rich and wealthy. We talk a lot about AI here, and their way to become rich is to provide needs that others have. You take care of them. They want you. They give you money because you help them. That helps you to get rich. But there's a big difference between rich and wealthy. And in this episode, I got a chance to interview one of my buddies that I've known for a long time, CSP, Certified Speaking Professional, Speaker Hall of Fame, and Cavett Award recipient, Willie Jolley, my buddy. And he talks about how you can do this, what you need to do, what you need to put into place so that you become not only rich, which comes from making some money, but wealthy. Money that's being created when you are sleeping, when you're doing other things. As entrepreneurs, we need to know that. And that ties in directly with what we talk about with AI. So I want you to listen to this. Find out the kinds of things that are there. You know me, Terry Brock. I'm with you, helping you with Gina Carr here at Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. We want to help you to not only become rich, but also wealthy. Sit down, take some notes, get ready for a fun time in the next few minutes as I get a chance to talk with my buddy, Speaker Hall of Fame member, Certified Speaking Professional, Dr. Willie Jolley.
As an entrepreneur, we know that money is very important. What we want to do is to make sure we have the right frame of mind. You know, if you have your mind set in a different way, like, oh, it's bad to make money, then you're not going to do real well. But if you're thinking, okay, I want to do this for abundance, to make the world better, yes, to take care of yourself and your family, but others as well. And you have to look at ways that we can do that. And what does it mean to be rich versus wealthy? Well, to find out some more about that, we've got my buddy, my brother here, Willie Jolley, join us to talk about that. Willie, good to have you with us today.
Terry Brock, always a privilege and a pleasure to be in your presence.
Well, it is great to have you here. Willie's speaking here in Orlando. We're here in Orlando. He just finished, getting ready to head out to get on the airplane and head back home. I thought, wait a minute, before we do that, let's see if we can get this genius, my brother here, to tell us a little bit about that new book he's got coming out. Tell us about that book you've...
Yeah, the book is so exciting. I've been on SiriusXM now for 19 years.
19 years?
19
Good
years.
For you.
And the show is called the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways Show. And now it's the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways Show and podcast because, of course, we are taking advantage of the technologies that you've taught me so well over the years.
Well, that technology is important. And you remember, well, really, you have done that through the years.
Yes.
You'll see something new and I'll come more excited. Oh, this is really good. AI, for instance, today.
Yes.
But you embrace that from a good practical point of view, kind of like you're doing with the money.
Well, yes, but I must say to people that Terry Brock is my go-to. He's my go-to because maybe 20 years ago, when this thing called the internet came out and we were using computers completely as part of our ongoing operation, I was afraid of a computer.
Well, a lot of people are because we don't know it. It's unknown, and so it's fear.
And so I was scared I'm going to mess up and everything will go poof and it'd be erased. And it intimidated me. And I called you one day. I said, Terry, I'm having a real struggle mentally with this computer, and I'm afraid. And you gave me such a great analogy. You said, Willie, do you have a stapler on your desk? I said, yeah, I do. Do you use the stapler? Yes. And does it help you? Yes, I need to staple stuff. He said, that's what a computer is. It's an extension of your arm. It's an extension of yourself where you can use it. If you mess up, it's okay. If you staple too many times or it doesn't work that time, just calm down, figure it out, and fix it. And once I got past my fear, I started looking at technology differently. And that's all on Terry. I was afraid. So anyway, this show, 19 years on XM, has been a show that I first struggled with. What am I going to call it? The Willie Jolley Show, or what is it about? You know, people say, does that mean he's going to sing? Is it a music show? Because people knew me as a musician primarily, coming from that era to becoming a speaker. Right. Or is it a youth motivation show? Because I was into youth motivation.
Yeah, you helped a lot of young people.
With my early years in NSA and speaking. And I kept saying, no, I want to talk about success. Well, the Willie Jolley Success Show. Well, what does that mean? And then I kept fooling around with it until I got alliteration. I learned about alliteration and Willie Jolley Wealthy. Everybody wants to be wealthy. The Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways Show. I like that. That don't work. The Willie, and so I started interviewing my NSA friends first because I had those on my Rolodex and those who were about success and about achievement. And then as time went on, I started having greater success on the show. And the show became the #1 self-help show in America for wealth building and self-help activities. And then I started getting calls from the David Rubensteins, when they have a book out, The Billionaire. Dave Stewart, many people don't know he's the wealthiest black man in America. He had a book out. I got a call from his team. Damon John from Shark Tank. When people, General Colin Powell, when his book came out, bless his heart, when people would have a big event, the A-listers I started getting calls from. Gladys Knight, let's see, George Foreman, when his new movie came out. I'm getting these calls saying, we want to be on your show. And so that's how the show came to be. And as I started thinking, what was it that I was learning? Because I'm interviewing these wealth creators, they're A-listers, they got best-selling books, or they want to be on the bestsellers list, they got a new book. What can I learn? And one day, Terry, the proverbial light bulb that we see in the cartoons that goes off.
Yeah, those are nice when they go off.
When we go off above your head.
Yeah.
Went off. And I said, there is a difference between being rich and being wealthy.
Okay, well, let's get into the nitty-gritty on that then.
Yeah.
What is the difference? Sometimes we think, well, they mean the same thing.
That's right.
But they don't. I'm in agreement with you. Tell us, what's the difference between being rich and being wealthy?
Well, first, before I give you the difference between them, I'm going to give you what I've learned as the 5 money mindsets that we see in our culture, in our country, in our world. We got 5 money mindsets. The first mindset is the indigent. The indigent tend to have a one-day mindset. Every day you'll see them on a corner with a cardboard box saying, give me enough money to make it through the day. And every day they repeat that. I have a guy in Washington, D.C. who grew up in the neighborhood where I live. Now we're in a upper nice neighborhood in Washington, upper middle class, upper wealthy neighborhood. But he grew up in that neighborhood in an apartment, and his mother died, and he kind of lost it. And he eventually could not sustain the apartment. She had a nice apartment in a nice building, and he got evicted. And he did not want to live in a shelter. He did not want to live in a lesser, nicer part of town. So he found a pastor who allowed him to live on the back porch of a house connected to a church. He did that for years. And then when they sold that house and built a new church, he got another neighbor who said he could live in his car. He had an abandoned car he was going to fix up in his backyard, and he's been living there for years. And I said, why don't you go and get a place? The city gives indigent people. He said, no, I love this neighborhood. This is a very nice neighborhood, and that's what where I want to live. So I want to have the location. I'll just do it in a car. But I say that to say the indigent sometimes have a mindset that I just do enough to get by.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want enough to get by. So you have a day-to-day mindset.
Okay, so we've got the indigent. What's the next category?
One is the poor. The poor or the fixed income, who are the month-to-month mindset. Every month they get a check, whether it's a welfare check, whether it's a Social Security check, and they live on that for a month. They operate, they sustain, they survive month to month. That check is a day late, it creates all sorts of havoc. Then you got the middle class. The middle class tend to have a year-to-year mindset. Did I make more money this year than last year? Do I have a cost of living raise this year? And that's how they operate year to year. Then you get the rich. The rich tend to think decade to decade. You see it most prominently in sports or entertainment.
Yeah, in sports, often I've heard the story of they can have a lot of money coming in, but they're not planning ahead.
That's correct.
And that becomes the danger that that's why you think he was rich. Well, yeah, now they don't have any money.
Well, they become rich because they get a contract that may be a 10-year. A baseball player will get a 10-year contract for $100 million. And for 10 years, they are living the high life. They got 8 Rolls Royces, 6 Mercedes, 2 Bentleys. They got a plane. They got a helicopter. They got a mansion in Florida. They got a mansion in California. They got a mansion in Vegas. They are balling and enjoying life. But at the end of that 10 years, if they haven't prepared and they don't modify their lifestyle, they're going to be broke.
Or if they don't do something that you recommend, investing.
That's right.
And getting the skills, et cetera. So,
right.
And we know that's what we need to do.
That's right. And so we find that over 70% of professional athletes are broke 5 years after retirement.
Yeah, I'm thinking, by the way, you remind me of an interview I had once with Magic Johnson. When the American Express was launching their Blue for Business card. They asked me to come, flew up to New York and did an interview with him. But even then, he was investing in businesses.
Yes.
He was very smart. Not only a wonderful man, by the way, one-on-one, off camera, wonderful guy.
Yes.
But he was doing the right thing.
Absolutely. So, real quick, there's another one who recently passed away. I did a tribute show for him. His name was Junior Bridgman. Now, most people don't know his name, yet he was the 4th wealthiest ex-athlete in America. Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, David Beckham, and then it was Junior Bridgman. He started by playing basketball. He was a 6th man. He never made more than $350,000 a year. He played for 13 seasons, but during the summer, he became an intern for Wendy's. He would work at a Wendy's, flipping burgers, learning the business, and he saved majority of his money, lived below his means. When he retired, he bought a Wendy's hamburger place.
Mm-hmm.
In 5 years, he had 100.
And
then he started buying Chili's. And in another 5 years, he had over 100. And then he took all of that. He gave some of the restaurants to his children and sold off the rest and bought the biggest Coca-Cola bottling operation in Canada.
Yeah, if I can take an observation, I don't know him, did not know him, but he learned skills.
That's
he
right.
learned valuable skills that people need.
Yeah.
How do you make a hamburger? How do you take care of Coca-Cola and all these different things? So he learned the details of that.
That's right.
And then applied that to create wealth.
That's right.
To make money. And I think that's
right.
kind of what you're driving at.
That's what I'm driving. You see
Very
where I'm
important.
going. You see
Yeah.
where I'm going. You
Yeah,
see where this
I like it.
And so most rich, you see them in athletes and in entertainment, like a rapper and they got gold around their neck. But if they don't learn about business, then the music industry shifts every decade or so. We had rock and roll, we had blues, we had boogie woogie at one time, and then we had disco. It stayed around for about 10 years, and then you got rap, and in each iteration of it.
Yeah, and it's continuing to move even faster today.
That's right,
because of AI and what we can do with it.
The AI and the internet, but let's say that rich is usually seen in athletics or entertainment. Then the 5th mindset is the wealthy. The wealthy tend to think generation to generation to generation. Scripture teaches us that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children's great-grandchildren. And so when I got those 5 mindsets, I said, wow, about wealth generation. On my XM show, I interviewed the president of the Dale Carnegie Institute.
Mm-hmm. And who is that?
His name is, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now, but he'll come to me in a moment. But anyway, he had a new book out. Mm-hmm. I get a call, and he's the president of Dale Carnegie Institute. He's not a Carnegie. He's a hired hand. And so we were talking, and I said, tell me the business model for Dale Carnegie. Well, Dale Carnegie Institute teaches leadership and communication skills as a franchise. I said, okay, how many franchisees do you have? He told me the number of franchisees all over the world. I said, and what's the franchise fee? They say, we pay a franchise fee to get in, and then you pay us a yearly fee. And I said, what's the yearly fee? He told me. I said, let me do a quick calculation. This many franchises times that fee. Whoa, that's a lot of money.
Some serious money, huh?
Serious money. And I said to him, okay, let me ask you a question. Where's the stock? What's the stock name? I can buy some of this stock. I want to be in on this. He said, you can't. I said, why? He said, it's not on the stock market. It's a private company. Really? I said, who owns the company? He said, the family. I said, the family owns the company? He said, yeah. I said, how long? And here's where it blew my mind. 110 years. Mm. A generation is 25 years. That's how they calculate a generation. That in 25 years, you expect people to get married, have children. That's a new generation. So they are almost 5 generations of this guy starting something that thought generationally. Mm-hmm. That's generational wealth.
That's long term. It's not just, oh, I need money today.
Right.
Like going back to the indigenous that you were talking about.
Right.
The people that don't have much, they just need food for today.
Right.
Versus we're thinking long term. And so help me how entrepreneurs can start thinking more long term, to think in terms of creating wealth rather than just trying to get rich.
Okay, now let's circle back to your original question. What is the difference between being rich and wealthy? And it's profound. Rich, it's a simple premise, and the book goes into greater detail and talks about the history of money and the mindsets of money. Rich is money you make from what you do, whatever it is. You cook, you clean, you create content, you play basketball, you play football.
Professional speaker.
It's money you make from doing something where people give you money in exchange for that service or that product. Mm-hmm. Wealth is money you generate while you're at home at night in the bed sleep. Mm-hmm. It's from what you own.
What you own. So you're investing in a company. Stock market would be one example of how to do that.
Yep.
Learning a skill that people want, and then you're able to multiply that without you just doing it. In other words, you're not getting paid by the hour.
That's correct. Or by the job, or by the task. You're getting paid by what you own that generates money, and you have nothing that you have to do beyond owning it, for all intents and purposes. Of course, you got to monitor it and watch it, but that is the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Now, rich is good. If you're a speaker, an entrepreneur, and people pay you a nice fee to do what you do, that's great. Mm-hmm. But how do you get to wealthy? That's when you look at the other ways that can generate wealth, i.e., multiple streams of income. And there are multiple streams of income. You've got to have money, an income stream from what you do. Then you have to have an income stream from what you own, like I and you, and we have investments. But also I have money coming in from royalties. I have money coming in from my media, from my radio programs that are repurposed. I have money coming in from real estate. I have money coming in from some of the other programs we created that can sustain themselves without me doing them. And so that's where you start to see wealth creation. And that's where you start to be able to scale those businesses, those wealth opportunities. So rich is good, wealthy is better is going to be, I think it's going to be a landmark book that every household needs. Everybody in your family needs, because people talk about generational wealth. I've got a company and I'm creating generational wealth. The problem is that is not true, because Dale Carnegie has generational wealth. Most people, they leave a nest egg for their children. And if it's not a hard asset that generates more assets, that money, as one person I wrote in the book said, assets grow and develop.
Or at least they're supposed to.
Yeah, they're supposed to. Money and cash evaporates. Mm-hmm. It just goes up.
Inflation can do that as well.
Inflation. And the other thing we tell in the book I talk about is how important it is to teach your children or your heirs about money.
Yes.
And how money works. And so one of the things we encourage people to do is get a trust. Make sure you get your assets into a trust, your home, your assets, and you put parameters on the trust as to how it can be divvied out. It's good to have a will. You got to have a will. But then the wise ones don't just have a will, they have a trust.
Yes.
And they can demand and control how the money's going to be allocated. So we've got a trust that is setting up, we're setting it up for 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal is 100 years from now. Someone asked me in an interview one day, Willie Jolley, what's your biggest goal? My biggest goal is that 100 years from now, some child will walk into a room and see a picture of me and my wife, Dee, and run up and kiss it and say, thank you, great, 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 great granddaddy and great, 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 great grandmama for what you did 100 years ago to build a business for us, to create revenues for us, that let us have a home and let us be able to have education. That's our goal. Now, I will never get to see it, Terry, but that's my goal. There's an old saying that the great ones, they plant trees that take 80 years to grow when they're in their 80s. They'll never sit under those trees.
Yeah.
But they do it because they're thinking future minded. So the book, I want people to go and they can pre-order the book. It's at richisgood.wealthyisbetter.com. People are pre-ordering this book in droves. I'm amazed. We're still trying to finish the production and the editing and getting it out. So it's still a few months off, but when it comes out, we think it's going to be a huge book. Rich is Good, wealthyisbetter.com. And so in the book, we talk about the different ways, the different types, the eight income streams you need to know about. We talk about the 5 money mindsets. We talk about what separates the real achievers from the just getting by achievers. And we talk about also, very important, the different types of money. One of the things you've talked about is AI, and we're now realizing that there's this thing called crypto. And so there are new digital forms of money. There are new ways that money will be generated via AI. And as I said, by the way, for those who don't know, I recently had Terry on my XM show because he's the key, the king, the poopa of AI. He knows this stuff inside out. And so I wanted my listeners to learn from a real expert about AI. So I had Terry on, and then I knew about the Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. And this, my show is a show that is heavily listened to by entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and small business people. So I said, I got to have Terry on. And so when we did the interview, I said something at the beginning of the interview that Terry, you were able to concur. I said, people say that AI is going to put you out of business or take your job. No, AI won't take your job. The person who understands and uses AI well will take your job.
Exactly. And right now we're seeing a shift. And I think it's important for those of you that are watching this, think about it. We're in an AI revolution. It is changing our world today. And that means there's opportunities there that didn't exist before. But as you study it and you say, oh, okay, I can do this, I can implement that because of AI, it's a major change. Kind of like when we saw the internet come around. It created new jobs that didn't exist before. AI is the same thing. And so that's why, Willie, I wanted to have you on here because I'm really excited about the book you have and the impact that it is already having on people even before it's out. And I think that's going to be the way that we start thinking. And that's why one of the things I want to do, I talk a lot about the nuts, bolts, and wiggle pins. Here's what you should do. Get ChatGPT, get Perplexity, use these. That's very important. But what Willie is talking about comes before that you have the mindset to think it's okay to be wealthy. And here's what I need to do, start thinking in that direction. What would you say to this entrepreneur that's watching this that says, okay, I want to do something, but what kind of mindset do they need? What's the best thing to get started?
You know, I spoke, as you said, I'm here in Orlando speaking. I spoke for Truist Bank today, and they are my sponsors for my XM show as well as for my podcast. And someone asked that question. What, because they had open time for asking questions. And what is the number one thing you would recommend, Dr. Jolley, for doing this? I said, number one is remember your inputs determine your outputs. Garbage in, garbage out. Good stuff in, good stuff out. You've got to be able and willing to learn. You must be in school. It's an ongoing process. The wealthy ones are always reading and developing themselves. They're growing their thinking, and they're focusing on the mindset, not just the skill set. Mindset and skill set are both important, but one is much more important than the other.
Yes.
Well, mindset is critically important.
Yes.
I use the analogy that every year on draft day, NFL, a talented football, basketball player is drafted into the major leagues or the professional ranks. And they get multi-million-dollar contracts. And they're just doing great. But remember what I said, 5 years after retirement, 70%, over 70% of professional athletes are broke. Why? Because they focused first on a skill set rather than on a mindset. Mm-hmm. When you develop the mindset, then you will start to realize that you can't spend all your money. You must live below your means and develop margin. And that margin is the difference between what you bring in and what you're able to live on. And that margin is what you use for investing.
Absolutely.
And making the most. Everybody should be involved in a 401k or some sort of SEP or some sort of retirement plan. Because if we learn nothing else from COVID, is that the world can be turned upside down in a moment. We all know on March, I think it was the 9th, I remember, or somewhere like 2020, my world flipped upside down. All my dates, I was booked almost all through the month, year of 2020. They went away like that.
Yep.
All the money went away like that. But thank God we had invested. We had put away some money. We had some money saved for a rainy day, because that was a rainy day.
It was a rainy year.
So, longer. So I want to encourage everybody a couple things. One, go to wjwow.com. WJWow.com. We have free resources there, because I will tell you, it's your input determines your output. We have resources, digital books. We have audios. We have some music, things just to encourage you, and it's free. Go there and sign up, get that free stuff, and you can also sign up for my weekly newsletter that goes out every Friday, when I tell about the guests for my XM show and the lessons I learned in the interview. Plus, you can get access to my 1-minute motivational message every day, Monday through Friday. It's on syndicated radio in 49 markets on radio, terrestrial radio, what we call. And then it's also on social media that we send it out, and it's a 1-minute short form message. Why do we do that? Because if you woke up this morning and it was cold and dreary and damp and clammy, what does your body want to do?
Move to Florida. I had to throw that in.
Well, occasionally on Florida, y'all.
It does. Both days of winter are really bad.
Yeah, so I like that though. But if you don't want to get out of bed on those days.
Yeah,
you want to stay in bed. But if you woke up and it was sunny and bright and beautiful and glamorous and warm and birds are singing, you don't want to miss any of that beautiful day. So you get busy. The same is true for your psyche. If you wake up and you hear, or if you had every day, you woke up and heard how many people got killed, how many fires there were, how many little children got snatched, how many new pandemics were on the way, how bad the economy is, it puts a cloud over your brain.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and you're not quite as active. But if you woke up and you heard a positive, upbeat message like this one is one of the people's favorites. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up and knows it must run faster than the fastest lion or it will be killed and eaten. Also, every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up and knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve to death. It does not matter whether you are a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you better be running.
Exactly.
And then you hear something positive like that every day. It puts some endorphins into your system. It gives you a positive mindset. And then you're more apt to take advantage of that moment and do something. If you do something, you try something, you attempt something, statistics show that out of those attempts, you're going to succeed more. And if you do that, you're going to win more. And that's what we want to do. So here's what I got coming up. I got Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. We'll be out in the spring of the year. Then a few months after that, we got a new book that's in the copper called You Can Win Now If You Know How. Mm-hmm. And then the third,
I like that rhyming.
You like
That's
that?
Good,
yeah. And then the third one is The New Theology of Achievement. Many people know I have master's degree in theology and a doctorate in theology, but I'm not a preacher. I am a theologian who understands achievement. And I want people to achieve and win and use the principles that I find powerful in the Bible that can help you to win. And so I have built my dissertation when I went to get my doctorate was so warmly received. The president, when I did my oral presentation, the president and the dean of the school sat in the back of the room, and they said, "When are you leaving?" To the California Graduate School of Theology. I said, "I usually leave right after my class, but I'm leaving tomorrow." They said, "Good, we want to take you to lunch." And they offered me over lunch to become a professor at the university because they said, "We need theologians to understand business and how business works and how you have synthesized theology and achievement and business into a." So this new book, The New Theology of Achievement, will be out after You Can Win Now If You Know How. And
Very
that
good.
comes after Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. One more thing I want to give people, wjwow.com. And if you just want to access all of my websites, we have a suite of sites that you can go to one place and look at our business site, our motivation site, I want to be a speaker site, our music site, our motivation for young people site, our faith-based site. We got a bunch of sites, a goal-setting site. You can go to winwithwillie.com.
Winwithwillie.com.
Oh, that's
and make
it.
sure Willie can be spelled different ways.
Either way you spell it, I'm going to take you there.
Okay.
But it's Willie. But you're right. That is why we buy up all of the Willie ways you spell.
Good planning.
Yeah.
Good planning. Take that in mind for those of you that have something similar to that. Could
That's
be
right.
different ways. Make sure you get them all.
It's worth it because we don't want, and we try and make our websites easy to remember and repeatable. So that's why winwithwillie.com, wjwow.com. If you want to be a speaker, it's youcanspeaknow.com, youcanspeaknow.com,
Absolutely.
where people learn how to become a speaker. So all of those things are things that we want to do. We want to help people grow. We want to help them succeed. And we've got a new moniker. Well, what do you do, Willie? I had Mark LeBlanc on it. You know, he's big on being able to tell people what you do in a way that's repeatable and it creates a meaningful conversation. What I do, I help you grow your wealth by growing yourself.
Well, you do that, and you help many people. Me through the years. We've known each other now for over 30 years.
Over 30 years. That's
a
right.
long time, and you're my brother.
Yes.
We talk about that often.
Yes.
But you are my brother. You have helped so many people. You've helped me. And for those of you watching this, you're listening to this or you're watching it, get to know this man. I know him one-on-one when he goes through tough times. We've been able to be in some of those together. He's a strong man. He's got a lot of wisdom. When things are going well, he's sharing that with others as well. This is a man you want to get to know. Willie Jolley,
Thank
my
you,
brother. I really appreciate
you.
being here.
Look, here's the thing I want to tell everybody. We got one more thing. Not only do we have a similar haircut
Yes.
together, but we are also in the Speaker Hall of Fame,
Yes,
and we are Cavett recipients.
exactly.
And that's a big deal, and I'm very grateful that you supported me in my becoming a Cavett recipient.
Yes, indeed.
And thank you for that.
Yes,
And
indeed.
I'm honored to be the first African-American man to get the Cavett.
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, but to be able to have a Cavett, and we both knew Cavett, and
Yes.
saw how he impacted lives, and to be able to serve. Service is the rent we pay for our space on this earth. Something
Yes.
Cavett would
And
offer.
Cavett would talk about that. He's going to make the pie bigger.
That's right.
And matter of fact, putting that together, we even have a day every year, March the 14th.
Yes,
That day, because it's 314, was the start of pie.
that's right.
And so that's why we say make the pie bigger. So this is something that's going to get to know this man. He's my brother. And Willie, love you a bunch.
Thank you. I love you,
Okay.
Terry, and thank you, and y'all entrepreneurs. Oh, let me tell you one more thing. And stark raving entrepreneurs. In one of my books, I don't know whether it was a setback set up for a comeback, or turn setbacks into greenbacks, or an attitude of excellence, or it only takes a minute to change your life. One of those 4 books, I remember writing about entrepreneurism, and someone defined what is an entrepreneur. And my definition of an entrepreneur is someone who designs and determines their destiny.
I like that.
They design and they determine their destiny. And if you're a stark, raving entrepreneur, you're someone who is willing to go crazy to design and determine your destiny and not let anything stop you. So as I say at the end of my XM show, I'll say to each and every one of you, for sure, your best is yet to come. Keep the faith. and keep moving ahead. Have a great day.
All right. Willie Jolley, we really appreciate that. And those of you listening to this, think about these pearls of wisdom he's given. A lot of truth in this. You'll probably want to go back over this one and watch it another time. It's good, but review this. Make sure you see it there. And come over and see us at Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. Gina Carr and I are delighted to be able to show you the nuts, bolts, and wiggle pins of how to make that happen. And with a mindset like Willie Jolley has been talking about, you can do it. I'm Terry Brock. Looking forward to hearing from you.